Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto, where we come to transform ourselves and each other and the world. Let's all unmute for just a few moments to hear one another give greetings. Let's say hello.
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 Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Good to see you.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello from Greg Williams. Hi.
Hi. Hello from
Hi,
Bear.
everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, hi.
Glad to be here.
No, it's Bear itself whose health isn't good.
You can see the order of service by following the link you'll see in the chat. It also begins with links to all the events and activities happening at UUCPA today and over the next week. Lots going on online, so please do follow those links. How it is working for you. Please send any thoughts to worshiptech@uucpa.org after the service. We're also so glad to have a message from Kathleen Foley-Hughes of Aydah's Cafe today. They're our neighbor and our January Justice Partner.
Thank you so much for caring about the work we do at Aydah's Cafe, and thank you for inviting us to be the cause of the month. We truly appreciate your help. Right now, we are hoping to reopen after the shelter-in-place orders are lifted. As you can see from the locked-up patio furniture, we are waiting and hoping that we can reopen soon. Right now, Aydah's is supporting many of our mission-based employees and our crew that are heads of households. Throughout the pandemic, we have paid a majority of our employees so that they would not experience housing and food insecurity. Our sales have been down about 80% from last year, but we are committed to reopening with a mission to stay open and to thrive. We know that it will take a while to get back to normal sales, so we are incredibly grateful to have your support in order to get us through to the next chapter in the life of our social enterprise. I would love to reintroduce you to 3 of our employees and let you hear from them about what working at Aydah's means to them. Thank you again. I hope we all have a healthy and happy 2021. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Zucker. I work at Aydah's for 6 years.
Chris, why is it important to you to work at Aydah's Cafe?
I'm happy working with my friends. Number 2, taking orders and working in the kitchen. Many more people. Working hard, being busy, being with Mr. Hughes.
Hi, my name is Todd Surf, and I have worked at Aydah's for over 6 years. And the most important thing to me about my job is growing to be the best manager and helping and encouraging others to be the best employees they can be through these scary times in our world right now. And I also love interacting with customers, having fun with them, and making sure that they're loved and supported at Aydah's Cafe. And that they know that they are welcome as well.
Hi, my name is Charlie Hughes, and I have worked at Aydah since the beginning. What's important to me about working at Aydah is I get to be part of a community, and I get to help interact with the customers, and I get to take their orders. I love working with my friends, and I love making coffee and making sandwiches and serving all those pastries that we have, and that's what I love. And I can't wait to get back to work.
Thank you, Kathleen, Chris, Todd, and Charlie. We have a guest preacher with us today. It was my very great pleasure to be the official mentor for the Reverend Darcy Baxter in her first years in the ministry. As with all the best such relationships, I learned a great deal from her, as well as vice versa. And I was particularly inspired by this sermon when she gave a version of it to Unitarian Universalist clergy at a collegial retreat. I immediately asked her to come share that message with us in Palo Alto. And now she has generously recorded this sermon for us to use this morning. She is in her 7th year there at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Stanislaus County. She is a 3rd-generation Unitarian Universalist and a reproductive justice activist. Among the many ways she has served our larger movement has been her leadership on the Unitarian Universalist Association, the UUA's reproductive justice study action issue of about 8 years ago. Darcy wants us to know that she is also a committed novice dancer, I would add quite a good rapper, and a parent to 3-year-old Sammy. And now, let us begin our service. What a week we have had, dear ones. These words from the Reverend Sharon Wiley speak to us from a time of chaos, possibility, and pain. And I invite you to light a flame as well or contemplate this one. It is said that ministers are here to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I say we are all afflicted and we are all comfortable. May our time together this morning be a comfort and a confrontation. May we find here peace in times of tumult. May we here invite tumult into lives of peace. May we here find calm in times of restlessness. May we here allow restlessness to evolve into action. Let this be the place you consider what you've never considered. Let this be the place you imagine for yourself something new and unthinkable. May this hour bring dreams of new ways of being in the world. Come, let us worship together. With our centering words each week, we draw on the many sources of our living tradition. Today's words are from the Greek writer Sophocles. Grief teaches the steadiest minds to waver. As we follow the sound of the bell into silence, let us become centered and fully present in this time together. Please join me in singing Swimming to the Other Side. The words are on the screen and in your order of service. We are living beneath the great Big Dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. I am alone and I
It's time for another Jataka tale. You mean these old stories from old India about one of Buddha's previous lives? Yeah, choose a story for us to act out. Once upon a time, a monkey lived on the banks of a river. And in the river lived a hungry crocodile.
Look at the ripe fruit over on that island there. If I jump to this rock first, then I can jump over to the island and get the ripe fruit.
When the monkey returns, she'll have to jump on this rock. I'll climb up and pretend to be the rock.
That night, when it was growing dark, the monkey started for home.
That rock looks bigger than usual. What's the matter with it? Aha! Crocodile is lying on top of it. Hi, Rock! Hi, Rock, my old friend.
The monkey is friends with the rock. Maybe I'd better answer.
Hi, Rock.
Hello, monkey. Did you eat lots of fruit?
I know that voice. That must be you, Crocodile.
Yes, it's me.
Oh, dear. It looks like you caught me. Well, open up your mouth so I can jump right in.
Okay.
But instead of jumping into the crocodile's mouth, the monkey jumped on top of his head and then jumped to the riverbank and safety.
Monkey, that was very smart.
The person who possesses the 4 virtues, truth, foresight, fixed resolve, and fearlessness, can overcome all foes, even you, Crocodile.
When Buddha told this story, he said that he was the monkey in one of his previous lives.
The monkey in this story is strong.
I don't think this story is very fair to crocodiles.
Most important, though, in this story are the 4 virtues that the monkey had. She spoke the truth. She was able to look ahead and plan. She had determination, and she was fearless.
Hey, everybody. Thank you to our tech crew who's working hard on our internet problems, but luckily we have multiple backups. So here I am for our time of caring and sharing, the time when we turn our thoughts to the important events of our lives, which we wish this community to share. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like me to speak this morning, please send your joys and sorrows to joyconcern@uucpa.org or post them in the chat box provided by Zoom, and they will be shared aloud. Please be patient with the fact that it's a little more complicated for me to change screens in this setup. As people are gathering their thoughts, I want to light this candle for the life of Diane Meyer, who departed this life a week ago. Diane died by suicide after a long struggle with depression. The memorial service for Diane will be next Sunday afternoon, January 17th, at a time still to be determined. So please watch the UUCPA email news lists over the next day to get the time. And if you want to speak to someone who understands any day, any hour, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline always has someone ready to listen and help. The number is in today's order of service, and I encourage all of you to put it in your contacts.
We have endured as well a week of dramatic events, some terrifying, some hopeful, all unfinished. Our country has perhaps never seemed so fragile and precious. Let us hold it in prayer and the fervent intention to strengthen it against all who would destroy it. And as we have tried to grapple with the loss each day of more US Americans dying of one new disease than died in the attacks of 9/11, I have found this way of remembering and honoring them helpful to me, so I hope it will be to you also. Each week, we will hear one brief story of one person who has died of COVID. A number like 3,000 per day becomes just a number, but a name and a profile helps us to know that behind the numbers are precious lives. So today we mourn the death of Sherry Duran, who lived in Iowa and was 53 when she died of COVID. She was a teacher in the local middle school since 1991 and had the gift of connecting with students and helping them connect to whatever subject they were learning. One of her sister teachers, Carla Hubert, says, "She was one of my best friends for 30 years. I will miss her patience, advice, and wicked sense of humor. She was a once-in-a-lifetime friend and colleague." Sherry Duran. Thank you, everybody, for your sharing. Let us take a long moment. There is so much to hold, so much sorrow and worry, and joys as well, held together in this amazing, complex business of living together. So let us pray and meditate in silence. Blessed be. Pardon me for the rather looming angle, but it allows me to use my hands and put my phone down, so I am with you. Please receive the blessing of the By Your Side singers by listening or joining in as they sing "There Is More Love Somewhere." The words are on the screen and in your order of service.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I will keep on till I find you. There is more love somewhere.
The movie director, Henry Jaglom, reports, Orson Welles once said to me at lunch, "The enemy of art is the absence of limitations." Jaglom agreed. He said, economically and creatively, that's the most important advice you can be given. You have limitations. You don't have $1 million to blow up that bridge, so you have to create something else on film to produce the same effect. Instead of having money to hire hundreds of extras, you have to sneak a cameraman through in a wheelchair through the streets of New York City and steal the shot, which gives you a look of much greater reality. This is my experience as well. Deadlines are one of the most annoying limitations and the most essential. Frankly, I'd probably never finish a sermon if I didn't have a deadline. At 6 o'clock on Sunday morning, I may wish I had another 12 hours, but the ironclad fact is that I just have to get it done. And there is no amount of time that could make up for that imperative. And so over my career thus far, I have written hundreds of hours of sermons. The writer Terry Pratchett said something similar. He started out in local journalism where you have to finish your article, no excuses. Then you do it over again. He took that discipline into his fiction writing, which is how he managed to publish over 50 novels before his too early death at age 66. And he's a great example to think of if you're ever staring at a blank screen. Imagine your deadline is in 30 minutes. You have to get the bare bones down by then or lose your job. Now, go. Limitations don't just help us do more, they help us to do what we do. They help us to do what we do with greater creativity and innovation. I can't really explain why this is because I don't know why. I can only say that I observe it over and over in others as well as in myself. Given an assignment like draw anything you want, people in an art class tend to come up blank. They're more likely to be inspired by an assignment like, you can only draw in black and one other color, no shades of gray, and it has to incorporate a fruit and the word your finger lands on when you randomly open the book nearest you and go, at first they squirm, but when they have that word, it makes them think of a particular fruit. And then these two things start rubbing together and sparks start shooting out. Maybe the friction is the secret ingredient. The imagination responds to constraints. Like a cat, it likes small spaces that it can fill. The reason Google's search page is so stark and simple is that when he was a graduate student, Sergey Brin didn't know enough HTML to make it more interesting. He needed a page from which to try out the search engine he was creating, and so he did what he could with the limited tools he had to work with. What he ended up with purely out of necessity and insufficient know-how is elegant and simple. If you hadn't known it was that way only because of its creator's limitations, you probably wouldn't have guessed. No one has seen the need to change that design in the years since.
Suffer from memory.
January 27th, 1975 was the most exciting day yet of 17-year-old Vera Brandeis's life. She stepped out onto the vast stage of the Cologne Opera House in Germany. The auditorium was empty, lit only by the emergency exit sign lights. But in a few hours, American pianist Keith Jarrett was going to play. She, the youngest concert promoter in Germany, had convinced the opera house to host a late-night concert, and it had sold out. In a few hours, 1,400 people would fill the auditorium to listen to Jarrett play a completely improvised, unrehearsed concert. When Jarrett and his producer arrived at the concert hall, they glanced at the piano and were noticeably quiet. They played some notes. They glanced at each other and then turned to 17-year-old Vera and said, quote, "If you don't get another piano, this concert is not going to happen tonight." The piano was literally unplayable. It was out of tune and the black keys were sticking. The pedals did not work. The upper register of the keyboard was harsh and tinny because all the felt had been worn away. It was weak in the bass register and the pedals did not work properly. And most importantly, it was too small, so it didn't even have enough volume to actually reach the back of the auditorium. So, of course, Jarrett refused to play. Apparently, there had been some confusion by the opera house staff. Jarrett had requested a Bosendorfer 290 Imperial Concert Grand piano. The opera house staff found another Bosendorfer piano backstage, a much smaller baby grand piano, and, assuming it was the one requested, placed it on stage. The staff did not realize that the piano they had found was a small piano intended for rehearsals and was in super poor condition. Brandeis tried everything to find a replacement. She even rounded up some friends to push a grand piano through the city streets, but it was raining hard and the local piano tuner warned her that a piano would never survive such a trip. The piano tuner worked on fixing up the little piano that was on stage but could not improve it a whole lot. Keith Jarrett left and went out to his car, leaving 17-year-old Vera to greet 1,400 soon-to-be furious concert-goers. Vera had no other choice but to beg Jarrett to perform. Through the window of the car, standing in the rain, Vera begged. Jarrett eventually took pity and said, "Never forget. Only for you." A few hours later, Jarrett walked out onto that vast opera house stage to the small, unplayable piano in front of a packed concert hall and began. Not what you were expecting, huh? Jarrett and his producer decided to record the concert so they had documentation of how much of a musical catastrophe it turned out to be. and they wanted to play it for future promoters and tell them to make sure to be thorough and ensure that there is always a proper piano. But instead, what they recorded was absolutely beautiful. Jarrett completely avoided the harsh upper registers and stuck to the middle of the keyboard, which offered the music a soothing feel. Since he had to compensate for how quiet the piano was, he used these rolling, repetitive riffs in the bass to try to get some resonance, and during the concert he stood up and pounded on the keys. At different parts of the recording, you can actually hear him moaning in frustration. All those adjustments Jarrett had to make to cope with that awful piano. And all those adjustments forced him into new realms of creativity. The Cold Concert album is the best-selling jazz album in history. The best solo jazz album in history and the best-selling piano album in history. We human beings are an incredibly creative and resilient bunch. There are so many instances when we are faced with an unplayable piano and we are actually able to produce something great out of it. But so often our first reaction is what Keith Jarrett's was. Heck no, I am not gonna work with that. I want to work with what I'm used to, with what I'm comfortable with. I want the grand concert piano, not the broken down tiny rehearsal piano. That's too messy, that's too broken, that looks too hard. And while not every piano player sitting down at a rundown piano is going to produce a best-selling album, this story of the Köln concert reminds us of a very important truth, particularly in this historical moment, that engaging with the limitations of our life can yield beautiful possibilities. Beauty can be born from brokenness. But we get so caught up in our habits. We, of course, rather avoid our limitations, rather avoid playing on a broken, rundown piano. A few years ago, there was a transit strike in London that shut down most of the underground train stations. Of course, right now, London is in another version of shutdown, as we all are. But there were buses and some above-ground trains that commuters could use. Now, most London commuters use public transit to get to work. Very few use cars. An economist got hold of the transit data during the strike and after. They identified people who took the same route to work every day, what they did during the strike, and what they did after the strike. Now, you would think that commuters, people who need to get to the same place every single day, who know exactly where to go, which track their regular train is on, where to stand on the train platform, what car to get in, you would think that these folks would have already found and been using the optimal route to get to work. The economists discovered that about 5% of people who changed their route during that strike decided to continue to use that new route after the transit strike was over. That 5% represented thousands and thousands and thousands of people. We get into particular habits. We get knocked off course. And often we may discover that our original habit was the best way to do things. But a significant number of us may discover that the new way of doing things may actually be better. Engaging with limitations can yield beautiful possibility. Beauty can be born from brokenness. Of course, we face all kinds of limitations. We have been facing unimaginable limitations for these past, 9, almost 10 months. And in midst of this devastating surge, I find myself wondering, the end of this year, heading into a new year, what kind of possibilities can be born by directly engaging our limitations? What kind of possibilities can be born by directly engaging our limitations? What beauty is waiting to be born? Blessed be, and Amen.
When Darcy gave a version of this sermon to colleagues, she presented us each with one of these. Ever since then, this has been taped to my desk, a reminder when I feel hemmed in by constraints and limitations that something beautiful might be waiting to be born from them. If you scroll down to the very end of your order of service, you will find a very short keyboard like this that you can print out as a reminder as well. 1 week per month, we remind ourselves with our offering that we are part of the interdependent web of existence. On that Sunday, our gifts go to the community organization we have chosen to be our justice partner that month. We are grateful that we are just one of the many groups of people striving to make our world a better place. And so glad to have the opportunity to support another group, our justice partner, Aydah's Cafe. The order of service gives a QR code and link, and also information on using text to give via Give Lively. Please give generously.
Will you now please join Bruce, Jane, Mayo, and Richard as they lead us in singing For All That Is Our Life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass. and make our own days glad.
For all that is our life, we give our thanks and praise. Let us go from this place holding all of it, the pain, the loss, the endless possibility, and most of all, the knowledge that we are not alone. So wonderful to have Yuri's music with us. Please stay after the benediction for our virtual coffee time. You'll be invited to small group conversations in our breakout rooms, or you can stay here in the main room with me to discuss the service. If you have the latest version of Zoom, you will be able to freely move between breakout rooms on your own. The rooms will stay open for about half an hour. Now, please unmute yourself and turn on your video while we say our benediction together. Go out into the world
in peace.
Be of
Good courage.
hold
Fast
To what is good.
turn no
Turn no one evil or
Strengthen
evil.
the faint-hearted,
Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help suffering.
rejoice
Rejoice
in
in beauty.
Speak of
love the
Love
word
the
and
word
deed.
and deed.
Honor
Honor all beings.